How do you do? My name is Anthony's Animation Talk, and it is my pleasant duty to welcome you here on behalf of Blue Genocide and our psychopath friends, Prower, Rudie, Melissa Mecrose, Steph Stilley, Aaron Kasarion, and the fake Blue, a failed clone of Blue Genocide that also goes by Steel, and all the other artists whose combined talents went into the creation of this new retrospective, Sonic the Hedgehog CD 32-bit Blue. What you're going to see is a love letter to Blue's favourite game, not only in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, his favourite game of all time. We will go through the development and how this came to be, the game itself, its 2011 remaster, prototypes, and scrapped content, thoughts on the game from others, and a scrapbook-inspired showcase showcasing the talents of many different and unique artists in an attempt to create a sensational piece of entertainment to show some passion and education towards something Blue is just wild for. This is 32-bit Blue, Sonic the Hedgehog CD.
Blue has got to chill. You'd think we're reviewing Sex the Game.
Pay up, Blue. Come on. I'm broke here. Come on. Where's my money?
I am really excited for this. Sonic CD is my favorite game of all time. However, at the same time, I'm terrified to do this. Looking at your favorite game with a critical lens and making sure that you be fair in its analysis, it's tough.
Didn't you already do this game?
No. Okay, yes. My original video was mostly a learning experience, and let's be honest, it's not good. I won't get rid of it, but it shows how much I've improved. Now I think we need to talk about the fact that there's two different versions to the game I'm talking about today. Now I will admit, Sonic CD on Sega CD makes it clear that it's not programmed by Mr. Naka. While it is built off the Sonic 1 code, Mr. Misaguchi was the main programmer in the game. Despite that, he wasn't as good a programmer as Mr. Naka was at the time. To be fair, most people weren't. As a result, this caused issues with the final game, such as low performance and a gimped spin dash. You'd think somebody from the Sega Technical Institute would have assisted in the code, but that clearly never happened. Based on what we know, I'd say the original game's source code was studied and worked off of, and while the same happened for Sonic 2 and later on Sonic 3, those projects had the man who originally wrote the code. Sonic CD was at a disadvantage from the very beginning. The original release couldn't be more flawed, and no amount of nostalgia glasses can hide that. However, in 2009, Mr. Whitehead, otherwise known to the Sonic community as our Lord and Savior, released a video pitching a port of Sonic CD on iPhone he had been working on. I remember when this happened, being 11 and just being amazed. At the time, my main way to play CD was on Pico Drive, which was a PSP emulator. However, I really didn't expect anything of it. But then it actually happened! Sonic CD was ported to the then current consoles and PC, and it was just amazing. Widescreen, more accurate physics, Tails cut it out with his "see you next game" BS, and all this for $5. $5 freaking! It's fantastic, and while there are improvements I wish that could be made, it's definitely the version you want to play today. Of course, there's also an older PC port from the 90s that doesn't run too well on current platforms, which was also the basis of the Gems Collection version released on GameCube, as well as PS2 in Europe and Japan.
In terms of the graphics, our biggest theme for Sonic CD was CG. When I joined Sega, it was my first chance to work with a Mac. Whoa, amazing, so this is a computer? Yeah, I was pretty green, and I had stars in my eyes for anything high-tech. There was a strategic side to it too. This game would be for the brand new Mega CD, so we wanted to include new ideas distinct from the previous Sonic games. We needed to stand out somehow. Of course, the computing power and hardware of that era was pretty paltry compared with today, so we were never going to be able to create something that matched those ambitions, nor was anyone expecting that from us. At the time, CG meant sparkling, sheen, metallic surfaces that immediately jumped out at you and yelled, "This is CG!" And frankly, I thought that aesthetic was the height of cool. As Oshima and I gathered up more and more CG reference materials, our excitement grew, manifesting in that title screen for Sonic CD, our first foray. To create that image of Sonic turning to face you, we used a Polaroid camera to take pictures of a Sonic figurine, scan them, and use that as our base to create the animation. To provide contrast and highlight Sonic himself, we made the emblem behind him look metallic to provide an overall impression of CG. I think it was a success in the way it clearly felt different from the previous Sonic games.
After the release of the first Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Team was more or less disbanded. Don't worry, this isn't a Rockstar drama story where every member of Sonic Team wanted to kill each other. Yuji Naka and Hirokazu Yashihara had left to work in San Francisco to help the Sega Technical Institute. And while Naoto Oshima, the original character designer of Sonic, had wanted to go to America, Sega of Japan blocked this from happening, probably knowing they were losing all their best talent to the much more successful Sega of America. Because we all know that makes good business. Infighting with different branches. This is exactly what killed Sega down the line as a first-party company, but this is not the time for that story. At the same time, interest had been in supporting the brand new Sega Mega CD. That's just Sega CD for us North Americans. Plans had always been set for the Genesis to be improved with an add-on, which explains the Genesis being shipped with an expansion port. Originally, the expansion port was planned to be used with the Mega Drive floppy disk drive. This was scrapped, and it took a while to introduce a new purpose for that expansion port. The Sega CD as we know it was unveiled at the 1991 Tokyo Toy Show, 1 year after that demo, for all keeping notes, with Sega of America not planning to release the console until games that would appeal to their market came out. This ended up being in November 1992, almost a whole year after the Mega CD launched in Japan. Of course, Sonic would have to appear on the Mega CD, but initially, plans were to port either Sonic 1 or the upcoming Sonic 2 at the time to the Sega CD. Instead, they decided to let Naoto Oshima direct a completely brand new Sonic the Hedgehog game that would be exclusive to the Sega CD. It isn't well known how far the planned ports of Sonic 1 or 2 got, as the only evidence of a Sonic 1 port existing at all was one clip of Marble Zone that's not really clear to see any enhancements whatsoever, as well as an actual design of a Sonic 1 CD that was up on the Sonic Team website around 1996. I didn't actually know about this until I started working on the video. Sonic 2 isn't much better though. A bunch of magazines reported on a game called Super Sonic that would be Sonic 2 with enhancements, but never any screenshots. Any screenshots that did appear with the game was revealed later on to be part of a multimedia demo recovered during Sonic Month, an event Hidden Palace ran in 2019. And what a doozy time capsule it is. It's clearly made to show off the scaling, rotation, full motion video capabilities of the Sega CD, but as a Sonic fan who's interested in beta content for years, I remember when these shots were thought to be part of a long-lost Sonic 2 Sega CD port, and it's super weird to finally get closure on whatever the hell these trippy angel scenes are actually for.
In this one, it's really all about enjoying Sonic himself, and the other characters are mostly just there to help facilitate that. Yeah, for those who don't want to watch the story, they can skip past the scenes with Amy, whereas those who want to enjoy flirting with her can stop and play lovey-dovey to their heart's content. He wanted to leave that aspect up to the players to decide. After all, if you lock the screen and prevent the player from doing anything, it becomes less like a game and more like a movie or something you passively watch. So yeah, these extra characters are just that, something extra.
You are gonna get sick of me saying this in these videos, but as a Sonic the Hedgehog sequel, they wanted to expand the cast of the game. Now, I find this odd, as Tails actually existed fairly early on in Sonic CD's development, going by the prototypes we have, dated from December 1992 and onwards. But I guess to stand out from the US team, they introduced two new characters to Sonic's world. Kazuyuki Hoshino, again, I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced that, the game's visual designer, was tasked with designing the characters. The first was Amy Rose, a character originally introduced in the Sonic the Hedgehog manga that was running in Japan at the same time. However, these two are not the same character. Video game damsels were still extremely common at the time, so the idea was that Sonic would be indifferent towards her, and she was obsessed with him. Quite a departure from last time they tried this, that's for sure. This is never brought up in the game, but Amy has an interest in fortune-telling and tarot card reading. The whole reason she's here in the first place is actually because the cards told her that Sonic would show up at the Never Lake. Now, there's a million jokes I can make here, but I'm worried that she'll call my manager, as I'm sure Miss Rose's real name is Karen. The other, Metal Sonic, was not a new idea for Sonic CD, as robotic Sonics existed as early as Sonic 2. or even Sonic 1 if you consider Roller to be an early contender. However, there's just something about Metal Sonic that pushes it.
Fellas, I think we can all agree that robots are the best thing since pizza, and I'm Italian, so I'm biased. Here's my thesis. Metal Sonic is really fucking cool. He's my favorite Sonic character. I love him. Oh my god. And here are my arguments in favor of my thesis. He robot, he could look at him. He's got the spikes, he's got the shoes. This robot fella is bad news. He's so sleek and streamlined, and he perfectly straddles the line between being evil Robot the Hedgehog and being his own thing. Eggman really is a great robot designer. Love that this guy can clearly run, spin and jump like Sonic can, but he doesn't, because he's above that. Literally. He floats and flies because he's got a jet engine on his back and he short circuits himself or overloads his engine to kill the Hedgehog. Also, Metal Sonic's boost attack is called the V Maximum Overdrive attack, and I'm just gonna name my son that, I think. Also, I can't quite get over that Metal mocks Sonic both at the beginning of the race and at the end. First he steals his finger wag, and then, with his last second of activity before he shuts off, he mocks Sonic's dying pose. That's the biggest middle finger a robot clone could ever give. Good night, sweet prince. See you in Sonic 4, Heroes. In conclusion, Metal is hella cool. Cooler than every Sonic robot. The other one needs wheels. This guy just flies circles around them. And he can shoot lasers, he has a razor shield, and. I love him very much. He's perfect. I rest my case. Back to you, Jarty.
Thanks, Rudie. The last thing I need to bring up development-wise is a rather sweet story. Oshima desperately wanted the game's time travel to be seamless, with no loading screen between time traveling to different periods. However, lead programmer Matsuhide Bisaguchi, my lord, how do you pronounce that, claimed that the Sega CD was just not capable of such a task. Oshima, in later years, has reflected that Yuji Naka would have had no problem figuring out a solution. I don't know. I thought that was pretty sweet and wholesome.
For the Sonic CD animations, Toei Animation created the OP and the ED. We made a lot of crazy demands on them, like, you have to use the Dragon Ball team. I'm not trying to shill for Dragon Ball here or anything, but apparently it's extremely popular over in Europe too. Even though the two scenes together are only 4 to 5 minutes worth of animation, they're fully animated, 30 frames per second, and required over 5,000 cell images to create. They really gave us something amazing.
God, even that title screen is glorious. I don't know, man. This is easily my favorite of the different Genesis era title screens. I just love looking at it. Those scrolling clouds, which I'm sure couldn't be done on the Genesis by itself. Sonic just looking fantastic based off that model. Everything about this screams a good time to me. So much so that we obviously take too long in the first demo plays. Except it's not a demo. One of the first things that come to mind is, of course, the beautiful opening animation that Toei handled. And is there anyone who can watch this and just not be blown away? Even though I obviously wish it was still full screen. I mean, it took fans to restore the opening cinematic, as both it and the ending animation are in desperate need for a proper restoration. Hisashi Iguchi, the key animator on the project, did an amazing job, and it's still amazing to see. When I saw this for the first time, that was probably what unlocked my Sonic obsession as a child. Especially with how fantastic Sonic Boom is as an opening track.
Don't you mean the Toot Toot Sonic Warrior? I mean, obviously you prefer the Japanese version. Every Sonic fan worth any dignity prefers the much-loved Japanese soundtrack over the rushed version.
Let's talk about the game now. Sonic CD is a little bit bizarre in the soundtrack department, as two completely different teams composed two completely different OSTs for the game. The Japanese and the European version soundtrack was composed by Naofumi Haitaya and Masafumi Ogata. Those two were very inspired by the house, techno, dance, and new jack swing music of the late 1980s and early 1990s, and the influence of the style is very obvious. The soundtrack is energetic, exciting, and filled to the brim with many samples and 90s drum loops. It perfectly captures the visual style of CD in auditory form. The introduction and ending cutscenes both include a great vocal song each, performed by Kaiko Itaku and Casey Rankin. The Japanese intro song is Sonic You Can Do Anything, otherwise known as Toot Toot Sonic Warrior, and the ending theme is Cosmic Eternity Otherwise, believe in yourself. For the American release, most of the songs were completely rescored by Spencer Nielsen, David Young, and Mark Crew, with harmonies by vocal group Patache. I don't know, kinda sounds like Pistachio, man. This version downplays the energy of the original music in favor of calmer, more atmospheric music, more in line with how Sonic was seen in the US. For the cutscenes, Nelson wrote 2 variations of the same song, called Sonic Boom. A high-paced and energetic version is played at the beginning, and a more subdued version at the end, which eventually breaks down into a guitar solo. The decision to rescore the soundtrack was not popular even in the day, as gaming magazines gave the new version a lower score than they had the Japanese version, one example being a 70 compared to the Japanese version's perfect score of 100.
I think the controversy surrounding the 2 versions of the game soundtrack were really blown out of proportion. Honestly, I've had hundreds of people tell me that they love the score I wrote for the game, and I'm sure the Japanese version has tons of fans as well, so everybody wins in the end. As it should be. After all, it's only a game. I think critics were looking for reasons to bash the game, and so many critics are hardcore, loyal fans, so they are not very objective. And they had all been playing the Japanese version for weeks or months before our version hit the streets, so it was like we replaced the music to Star Wars after the movie had been out for a while. From that perspective, I can't blame them. But to be honest, the game critics were always very kind to me and my collaborators, so a little bad press ain't the end of the world.
That being said, both soundtracks are outright beautiful. You'll get to see in the zone section later on which track I prefer for each zone.
Say the thing that'll get you crucified already.
I was getting to that fur coat and waiting. Alright, here it comes. I prefer the US soundtrack. You knew that! Get out of here before you become a pelt. Okay. It's true. This is an extremely unpopular opinion among Sonic fans, as the Japanese soundtrack is usually praised and the US version is just kinda there. As I said before, I love parts of the original version, but most of this has to do with the surrounding tracks around the zones, such as the Act Clear music, which really boosts one confidence in the US. Thank you, you're too kind, I beat Funny Bouncy Castle Place. Plus, like, Sonic Boom, both versions are far better than You Can Do Anything in Cosmic Eternity. I'm sorry, but like, I could keep going. But let's save my unpopular opinions for another time. It's never stated exactly when Sonic CD takes place. With the cast of the game, most people assume that this game takes place between Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, due to Tails being almost completely non-existent in the original Sega CD release, and Sonic having a work-in-progress spin dash. More on that later, but a star appears over the Never Lake 1 month every year, and in both manuals, Sonic heads over to see the phenomenon. The difference between regions is that Amy is with Sonic as he heads to see the Never Lake in the US manual. Or I'm sorry, Princess Sally? Okay, and one of the oddest choices Sega of America ever chose to do for localizing Sonic to the Americas. They renamed Amy Princess Sally for this one and only time, even though she looks nothing like Sally. It's not like they bothered changing her in-game to resemble Sally. I kinda get why they did it, but it's such a boneheaded thing to do. Then again, this was the company that wanted to localize the Sega CD RPG, Popful Mail, and make it Sister Sonic. No f***ing joke. Either way, Robotnik actually beat Sonic here, and he's here to take advantage of the Small Planet's special gems. This time, the Time Stones. 7 slightly different flavors of Jolly Ranchers that this time can manipulate time and space, which the Chaos Emeralds can also do if you consider Chaos Control. Sonic, with a small pink hedgehog going through an identity crisis, or no one yet, depending on which manual, heads into the alien planet, ready to serve the villain another sunny side up ass whooping. I mean, we know the routine, right? We gotta race through some new zones, collect 7 gigantic fruit gushers, and shove our spiky behind into our mad scientists and create a good future. Only very literally this time.
Sonic CD was made in Japan, while Sonic 2 was made by Naka's team over in the US. We exchanged information, of course, talking about the sort of game design each of us was aiming for, but Sonic CD wasn't Sonic 2. It was really meant to be more of a CD version of the original Sonic. I can't help but wonder, therefore, if we had more fun making CD than they did making Sonic 2, because we didn't have the pressure of making a numbered sequel.
Before we begin, we should talk about the mechanics of Sonic CD. I know that despite the release date being around the middle point between Sonic 2 and Sonic 3's release dates, this game is closest to Sonic 1 in terms of mechanics. I suppose it could be seen as a step backwards if you take that into account, and I do feel like it's a real shame this game never did get a follow-up that could have expanded on its mechanics, but for a moment here, let's consider this game as if it was released between Sonic 1 and 2. I know it's not fair to forget that other sequels were out or coming really soon after this game's release in any other region, and with any other game, I would be harsh on it. It is a con that this game has that it is closer to a Sonic 1.5 than a game that took what had come out and expanded on it, as again, Sonic 2 was released very early into the development of this game. You can do everything you could do in Sonic 1. Jumping, spinning, all that good stuff. While running around, you may notice that Sonic has some new tricks. Like most games after the first, Sonic does in fact have a spin dash, but since this game likely takes place between Sonic 1 and 2, he's still kinda learning to perfect it, meaning it's a little bit nerfed than normal. I know a lot of Sonic fans that played 2 or the other sequels either first or exclusively tend to stop and spin dash and forget to use the natural roll ability to keep your momentum and such. So in a weird way, having a GIMP spin dash sort of helped make me a better Sonic player. That does not make it a positive, I know. That being said, the 2011 version gives us a more traditional spin dash, but that's not it either. By pushing up and jump, Sonic busts out a neat peel out move. This figure 8 technique looks sick as hell, but you have to be careful while using it, as you are vulnerable while using it. It is faster climbing up slopes, with the spin dash and roll being more useful down slopes. Another key factor is that in the original version, given the fact that the spin dash is rather nerfed, the peel out is a faster way to shoot off to gain some speed rather quickly. This does offer some choice in which to use, but again, a more normal Sonic 2 or 3 style spin dash would have done the job of both much better. I really gotta look for a mod that lets me play CD with a drop dash. Now that would be my ideal Sonic experience. Now, if that's not all enough, there's also time travel. Sonic needs to travel to the past to create a good future after all. And this game gives you the ability to travel through time posts. Past and future signs are scattered all over each zone, and if you touch one, you'll gain the ability to time travel if you gain some speed and can keep it going for a while. Think back to the future. If Marty had to keep the DeLorean at 88 for just a little bit, I think it's a fair trade-off since I'm pretty sure Sonic isn't exactly carrying a Mr. Fusion or a flux capacitor everywhere on him.
That's enough.
What?
You are cut off from Back to the Future jokes from here on.
Oh, come on, that's bull.
Make a 32-bit blue on the Back to the Future series if you keep wanting to.
What you think I won't? Who do you think I'll have to edit that? Stupid horny wolf. Fine. Sonic can travel to either period, although you'll more than likely be disappointed going to the future. See, initially the future is Robotnik's, and we need to use our spiky blue dude to stop him. We have the normal 7 big-ass rocks of power route, but we also have another. By going into the past, you can find a robot generator, and smashing it causes the future to go well, combining nature and technology together to find harmony. Of course, this is just a bonus, and I hear a lot of complaining that time travel can be hard to do in certain stages, but I don't think this takes away from the game. At no point is time travel required. You can run to the end of the stage a few times and win. Time travel is purely a bonus, and for those of you that like to explore, this is just a huge bonus. It can be fun to see how time alters these places. You can play the game like a normal Sonic game, maybe a little easier than the Genesis games, or you can really branch out. You can spend the entire game time traveling and seeing exactly what changes these zones in different time periods. The whole game has so much replayability with this and other features I'll touch on later that, well, let's just go over that later. Just remember that word, replayability.
Loop the loops, twist through corkscrew turns, find footing on hidden platforms, and spin the wheels to blast up vertical ramps. This round promised plenty of action for a fleet-footed Hedgehog. Hope you remember to bring your mosquito repellent, cause some of these enemies take a big bite.
The Palm Tree Panic Zone is our introduction to the little planet, and as you can see, it definitely looks like an alien Green Hills zone with many of the same set pieces we found back in Sonic 1. That is consistent with Sonic CD. Most of our locations this time around have a cousin from Sonic 1 that's slightly remixed. That being said, I don't think this hurts the game. It may seem like a more acid trip version of everyone's favorite hilly green stage, but I think it's much more than that, expanding on what the first game did and pushing it to new heights. That to me is what Sonic CD is, an expansion of what worked in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, with maze-like levels built to use those mechanics in fun and unique ways, especially in comparison. When we run into the past, we do run into a Metal Sonic hologram, something I forgot to bring up. These are just weird holograms of the Metal Sonic abusing poor animals, and all smashing it does for you is cause animals to jump around the stage. The 2011 version adds a trophy for finding all of them in the game, since these are in all Act 1 and 2 past stages from Palm Tree to Stardust, but really they are just kind of there for the sake of replayability. Remember that term. Anyways, we run into Rosie the Rascal, or Amy here, and she'll try to grab you, and the only way to get her off of you is the spin jump. It's kinda cute, of course, but Sonic doesn't seem to think so.
Of course not! Sonic is into women. Like me. Like a man.
Loose definition of the word man, don't you think, Wolf Boy?
Testosterone! Yeah! Football!
Alright, moving on. In the third act, the level takes place in the future, and since there's no way to have 7 time stones yet, unless you went to the past to smash some robot generators in both Act 1 and 2, you are likely in the bad future. Not that it matters much in boss levels. Our first boss is a giant mech, and well, that was fast! Moving on, I suppose.
Sonic becomes a whirling blue spinball in this land of bright lights and bumpers, flippers, and spikes. Robotnik's robots will really be gunning for you here. Mount down fits with a spin attack. Press button A, B, or C to activate the flippers and send Sonic flying through the spinball courses for big bonus points.
Collision Chaos is next, and the first thing that happens is Amy being kidnapped by the newest robot Sonic, Metal Sonic. Now this early introduction is very threatening, and it's just a phenomenal first introduction to a Sonic robot. Sticking purely to the other 16-bit games, Silver Sonic seemed kind of, well, that it may have just had a tuba behind its movement. And while Mecha Sonic in 3 is just a cool robot, its first canon appearance in the Green Hill boss ain't exactly threatening. He shows up here, smashes a set of spikes that you're powerless to move. He steals your fangirl and runs off. Well, I guess we have to save her. The rest of the stage is very psychedelic and at the same time similar to the Spring Yard Zone, but it's much faster. There is plenty of giant slopes to get some massive speed rolling and bouncy platforms to use to propel Sonic. This level also has some gorgeous backgrounds, especially in the past. Honestly, if you told me Sonic CD was an early PlayStation game and showed me this level, Collision Chaos Past, I really would believe you. At the end of the stage, we have a pinball boss, and yeah, it's kind of wonky. I don't think either version of Sonic CD really feels accurate with pinball physics, but if you plan your course, you can usually beat this boss in a short time. Don't feel ashamed if your first attempt takes a while though. This boss is purely a game of learning how it works. This boss does have one thing going for it though. When you finally get to the top, they let you hit Robotnik a few times and that's really satisfying, right? Sonic CD is a man's game. You guys want to see what a man's game looks like? And what happens if you don't have the man's game and you're stuck playing Sonic 2?
As you dive into this underwater adventure, remember that you'll need air once in a while. If you go too long without it, a countdown appears. When the countdown reaches 0, you'll lose your life. Take a deep breath from air bubbles that drift up from certain blocks. Switches activate propellers, and the current will send you spinning. Grab onto the nearest pole to save yourself on steel spikes.
Welcome to our water level, and this one is great. Plenty of ways to stay above water, a jamming background track in the US version, not too much worry about drowning, massive vertical momentum, it's fun. I think a significant difference this stage has over the Labyrinth zone is easy to see when comparing the two. Labyrinth is very slow and trap heavy, and this zone has way more chances to go fast and be shot out of tubes, as well as just a better balance between water and surface travel. The boss has us chasing Robotnik before he surrounds himself with air bubbles. Okay, well, that was odd. I really like this stage. It's a lot better than I think most would give it credit for. And while Sonic 3 would go harder with the Hydro City Hydrosity, I would dare say this zone is a great second place.
Look out for falling rocks as you race through a treasure trove of glittering gems. Touch the arrow signs to change the direction of the moving conveyor belts. Spiny snails, slimy caterpillars, and cannon-toting beetles will try their best to slow you down.
Quartz Quadrant is number 4, and we have a zone without a Sonic 1 equivalent. This place looks like a mine, and you can be out of here quick, using the belts and tubes properly. Honestly, while there's traps all over, I think this is a great way to design a fast yet hazardous level in a Sonic game. If it could be criticized though, I think maybe it needs one more mechanic, as I suppose it is a little bit forgettable. That being said, I would much rather deal with a somewhat forgettable stage than another hilltop or marble garden. This is the first zone that you can potentially have all 7 time stones. So when we fight Robotnik, we can flex on him pretty hard. The boss is a treadmill? You must be really fucking stupid. Well, you can tell how well that goes for him.
Electricity rules the Wacky Workbench, and the ground isn't always grounded. If you land on it when it's flashing, the current will bounce you high into the air. Turbines and bobbins send you spinning. Press button A, B, or C to sling yourself clear. Roll yourself dizzy on turntable platforms, and don't get iced by the exhaust vents. When the electrical conduits around you begin to flicker, get out of the way or you'll be in for a shock.
Okay, calm down everyone. Whose video is it? Alright, this one is not a popular zone. Robotnik's factory here has a magnetic and bouncy floor. Problem is, in Act 1 you have to stay low in order to progress, so it can be a bit touch and go to get to the end. Act 2 is a lot better in my opinion with those bars that you can jump between. The boss is a drill, and as soon as you know how that goes, it's no problem. This level is my least favorite level in the CD, but I don't think it's that bad. It's Prower's favorite level, so feel free to send complaints to him.
You guys, I like to be different!
Shoot through a maze of valves and pipes in a world of stardust and music, mind-boggling speed and danger. Wipe out lightning bugs before they catch you in their currents. Look for certain ways to open passageways and bypass springs. Watch your step.
Man, least favorite level followed by favorite. What is this, Sonic & Knuckles? Starlight Zone's full-on upgrade in the Stardust Speedway is a beautiful and fast maze of tubes sitting on top of a metropolis. This is what Sonic is all about, and while it is at times maze-like, it doesn't matter. This zone makes you feel unbelievably fast. I think, more so than any other stage thus far, this is the stage that pushes the Sega CD, and it's just amazing what they got out of it. At the end of it all, we encounter the Metal Sonic, and it looks like it's time to race. This is my favorite game of all time. I've played it over and over a million times, and yet this boss always seems to surprise me. I think it's just the perfect difficulty. If you want my advice, keep on pace with Metal. Getting too far ahead and he will boost, outspeeding you, and it will hurt if you touch it. His electrical discharge attack when he's ahead is a lot easier to avoid. During the final stretch, I'm pretty sure he's supposed to stop using his attacks, but it didn't happen while I was recording in the 2011 version. I think it was a glitch, since you're supposed to be able to get ahead and win. Honestly, this should have been the end of the game, but we have one final stage.
Sonic, you came all this way just to save little me?
Hey baby, anyone can make a mistake.
Evil Dr. Robotnik has created a nightmare of pumping pistons, walls of spikes, and blade-wielding badniks out to slice and dice you. It'll take all your speed and skill to get through this stage, but once you do, it's time for the final showdown. The future is up to you.
Metallic Madness is the final stage of Sonic CD, and I sorta wish it was the penultimate stage. Not that it's a bad stage though. Act 1 is a normal scrap brain affair, but Act 2 plays around with shrinking Sonic down to explore the stage. It's definitely a cool mechanic, but Act 3 is just funny. It's hard, all the way to the boss. For one thing, this is actually the only bottomless pit in all of Sonic CD, and it's a doozy. It's a puzzle just getting to the boss with this thing. After dealing with that, we run into these Firefly things, and 20-something years later, I still don't understand these things in their hitbox. But you eventually will kill all three of them, and Robotnik awaits, with the lamest final boss machine ever. Honestly, other than Metal Sonic, most of these bosses have been questionable at best. I would have loved to have gone up against a Super Metal Sonic, but that's just not the case here. But the factory falls apart just as Amy finds us, and it's up to us to leave the planet as it shakes off Robotnik's control. Sonic and Amy manage to escape the planet, and Sonic runs off just before Amy gets her chance to cling to him. The ending depends on whether Sonic managed to get all the time stones or made a complete good future. Only barely though. If he didn't, you'll see Robotnik manage to get his hands on one before Sonic spin dashes a rock into his skull, and the final scene will show us that the little planet is brought back into Robotnik's control, most likely due to Robotnik undoing his defeat with the time stones. Let's prevent that, shall we?
If you reach the goal while carrying 50 rings or more, you'll be able to enter the special stage. You'll see a large golden ring. Leap through this special ring to enter the special stage. The special stage is a 3-dimensional course scattered with UFOs. If you can destroy all of the UFOs before the timer runs out, you'll pick up a time stone. Collect all 7 time stones before Robotnik finds them.
In the special stages that look straight out of a Super Nintendo game, it's our goal to smash a number of UFOs before time runs out. The biggest hazard, though, is the water. Touching it will actually remove 10 seconds of your time. Just here are some tips. First of all, do not be afraid to use the layouts to your advantage. The UFOs always go in a set pattern, so staying in place using a bumper to more or less wait for a UFO to come to your space is a great strategy. It can be somewhat tricky getting used to the hitbox in either the 2011 or 1993 original, but just remember this. If you fall under 20 seconds, a special UFO will always show up that will be really easy to hit and give you more time. Effectively, this means you can stay in a special stage forever if you need to, if you can avoid too many dips in the water. Overall, while the special stage can be tricky to hit things, you also have an endless resource to stay in the stage to get your 7 time stones. Unfortunately, like Sonic 1, getting the 7 time stones only grants you an ending, but at least it's better than whatever the hell Sonic 1's good ending is. And you get to be in the good future in all the rest of the game now. So it's definitely worth it in my opinion. Now, let's take a small look back at our journey. As for beta content, do we have a lot to talk about? The first public demo of Sonic CD was at a lesser-known event called Yusei Sega World that occurred on December 6th, 1992, and was held to celebrate the release of Sonic 2. Now, you would think this prototype would be lost to the sands of time, since this event isn't even something major like the Tokyo Toy Show or a Consumer Electronics Show. No, this was a celebration party held near Christmas 1992 that nobody ever talks about, and the game demo in question was on a compact disc. One of the most non-durable storage medias in history, only surpassed by the floppy disk in terms of losing your shit in 20-something years. But surprisingly, it was discovered and salvaged by Hidden Palace as part of the legendary Sonic Month. CD Sonic the Hedgehog, huh? Look, Sonic CD isn't a wonderful name, especially since most of the platforms it's on is the digital media now, but I'm so happy they switched that name. The title screen's also way different compared to the final too, that's pretty neat. Sadly, it's clear that this build was stripped down from a developer build at this point, as it only has the first 2 levels of Palm Tree Panic. That being said, there are some significant differences to be noted here. a lot of moves and abilities don't work well or are buggy. For example, the spin dash in this build is a severe work in progress as you start to move to the right while charging it, and when you do use it, it's severely overpowered, something that clearly was referenced in 2011 Sonic Generations. There's also some unused monitors in this prototype, like an S monitor that gives speed shoes and invincibility, a blue ring that's supposed to give you a second shield-like object, and a time stopper that was never fully finished. Other than that, we have all the standard stuff when it comes to prototypes. It's way buggier for one thing. The I'm outta here animation, an Easter egg where Sonic leaves the game to leave him on idle for 3 minutes, is severely unfinished at this point in development, and the peel out lacks its animation and is nerfed to all hell. The end of acts of a signpost that read "You Say" that doesn't animate, clearly meant to be a reference to the event this build was made for. One of the major discoveries in this build was the fact that the past music for Palm Tree Panic was actually CD audio. Something changed for the final release. Unfortunately, as cool as it is that we have a build from almost an entire year before the final release, it was stripped of most of its other data. Going into the time attack mode, something very heavily marketed in Sonic CD's press materials, we get our only tease of R2 ever being in Sonic CD. R2 is an urban legend among Sonic fans, as it's a cut level only referred to as Round 2. Oh, yeah, I should probably mention that. For some reason, Sonic CD calls zones rounds and acts zones. No idea why they decided after releasing 2 mainline Sonic games and 2 handheld ones to suddenly change the name scheme, but I'm still calling them zones and acts, thank you. R2 was clearly scrapped early on in development and was most likely supposed to be based around the Marble Zone. In the extended ending cutscene from releases made after the Sega CD, we can see what most likely is R2. This and some sprites of a boss and Badniks have surfaced, but this is the only time we'll ever see R2 listen to build unless another build comes out.
Does that say salad plane?
Oh, right, that. Well, apparently they had not come up with the idea of the naming scheme of the final release, so it seems like way more abstract names were used first. Wacky Workbench was initially called Magic Toy Box, but other than that we don't know anymore. The next build already has the familiar naming scheme.
Wait, other builds?
Yeah, actually we have a lot of builds of Sonic CD that have leaked. 510, 512, 712, and 801, and even others that don't fit into that naming scheme, as well as near final builds and localization prototypes. It's the one classic Sonic game that can rival Sonic 2 in terms of release prototypes.
What about Knuckles Chaotix?
Okay, good classic Sonic game. Something I didn't mention is that in the earlier builds, and including the 1992 build, you can actually spawn in a second Sonic for a second player to control. It's super weird. Other changes can be minor, others drastic, like different palettes for different time zones, bottomless pits in places, the usual stuff. The biggest changes in these builds have to be the special stages. In the earliest magazine screenshots of Sonic CD, we have a very Sonic 1-esque looking special stage. Bonus game? To be honest, we have no idea what it is, other than it clearly functioning similar to Sonic 1's special stage and using different layers that Sonic may have had to travel to. Remember this for later. In the builds we have, the earliest point a special stage is visible is in 510, where we can see a demo of Programmer Has a Nap. Hold out, Programmer. Clearly in-joke, but as you can see, certainly there aren't any UFOs. In screenshots from the time, we can see at one point the UFOs are actually hot air balloons. But no build has ever shown up with these in place as UFOs. Instead, the first playable build with UFOs happens to be version 5.1, but good luck. Touching the water is an instant loss, or at least it seems to be to me. Interestingly enough, you can actually control Sonic's speed here. Something taken out of the final game, most likely to upset a certain Italian I know.
Oh, quit it.
Did Metal Sonic or Amy ever change in development?
I mean, Metal didn't. In one of the builds, Metal can actually hurt you in kidnapping Amy. Oh my god, what the f*** is that? Get away from me, get away from me! The power of Christ compels you, you Minnie Mouse looking OC piece of... Oh, thank god, it's gone. What the f*** was that? The main thing found in the final release as far as unused content is concerned is unused Sonic sprites. We have some less interesting ones, like the grayscale death sprite that appears in the code of most of the classic Sonic games for some reason. You'd think after the first game they'd be like, okay, well, we left it in the code for Sonic CD, but they just kept adding it back. In fact, I think they created a Knuckles one for Sonic 3 Knuckles. Super weird. There's also Sonic hanging and grabbing onto things, some that appear to have been made for cutscenes, like this one where Sonic is looking up and backwards, and this one of him sneezing, which apparently was a form of spider sense for the blue blur. This was discovered by the Badnik mechanic, and in brief promotional materials, Sonic once had a power in the lore that caused him to sneeze whenever there was danger. This idea was pretty much dropped, but it still made it into the animation for the intro. There are some sprites meant for the special stage of Sonic falling on his ass, giving up, and leaping. By far the most interesting unused sprites are this, which appear to show Sonic falling while scaling backwards. Perhaps these were once meant for the cut bonus stage when he lost. That being said, similar sprites do appear in Sonic 1's code, so who really knows? Believe it or not, the 2011 remaster has some unused stuff of its own. 2 images were released of new levels that Mr. Christian Whitehead intended to add to Sonic CD. The first was Desert Dazzle, a desert-themed stage, more than likely intended to reference the Lost Sonic 2 desert stage, as well as a new final boss in a level called Final Fever, which had Sonic have to use time travel during the boss to destroy it in the past, which was the only time it was vulnerable. Both of these were scrapped by Sega wanting a more traditional remaster, and I think it's a shame. That being said, Desert Dazzle was clearly redone for Sonic Mania's Mirage Saloon Zone, so it's not all bad. I'll give you guys a little bit of a break from my voice. How about we go through some guest thoughts on this very controversial game, and then end with the showcase, and then my final thoughts. How about that?
Sonic CD. This is gonna be a rough one. I don't like the game overall, but I'll start with the good and then I'll get into the bad. The music is amazing, regardless of which region you pick. Like, I listen to it all the time. Like, it's just really good. The opening animation is really good, especially for, like, the early 90s. What the Sega CD could do was actually pretty good for the time. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't utilized properly. And I do really like Amy's design from Sonic CD. And also Metal Sonic is, of course, cool. Now we're gonna get into the bad. The level design doesn't really work for the whole time mechanic, because a lot of times the straightaways, there's not really a straightaway, I don't even know why I said the straightaways, for the time posts. So you don't really have a good, like, run to actually be able to time jump, and a lot of times the obstacles are placed in a way where you can't see them. And I know in Sonic games, the more you play it, the better you get at, like, you know, avoiding obstacles, but with this game, it's the only one of them where I feel like on a first playthrough, the chance of you getting the best ending is next to none. And the level design doesn't really work for the reason why you time travel, because you want to look for the projectors of Metal Sonic to break those to get the best ending, or, well, one of the ways to get the best ending. But the level design doesn't really work with exploration like, say, like Castlevania. It's just kind of rough in that regard. And the soul gems themselves are not easy to get. I think they're called soul gems. I always forget their name. Because the hitboxes in the soul gem minigame are just not good. It's just really not good in my opinion. I always have trouble with it, and it's probably, like, out of all the Sonic games, it's the one emerald collecting I like the least. Okay, no, I kind of like Heroes is a little bit less, because you fuck up even just slightly on that, and you're just screwed. And yeah, that's my thoughts on CD. Not as good as Sonic 1, 2, 3, Mania, or any of the other classic style games. Not the worst Sonic game I've played. I played 06.
See, to me, I really like Sonic CD. Personally, it's a really good game. I love the compositions, like with the music. I think it's so full and just vibrant, and it goes so well with the environments. The environments are beautiful, the sprite art, I think it's great. I just overall love it. The level design sometimes works really well with the time traveling mechanic. I love the time traveling mechanic despite how much it doesn't actually go used. But overall, I think Sonic CD is a really good game and has a really special place. Right here in my heart. You can't see me point, but I'm pointing right here in my heart.
Sonic CD is a game that by nature is extremely polarizing, a blend of artistic and mechanical concepts that's consistent in its inconsistencies. I can't call it a bad game, just one surrounded by hot air, not by proxy of the game as a whole, but from individual pieces that glue the game together. The level design is bustling with interesting concepts that get the player to explore around the level, though they lack mechanical variety whilst traversing. Likely only the theme and gimmick of the stage make one unique to the other. Or time traveling, an interesting concept given by a lack of incentive outside the aesthetics to look around, especially noticeable when an easier, arguably more interesting alternative stands to nearly void the concept. While individual parts can be considered half-baked, Sonic CD's strengths come from Naoto and his team likely striving towards fun from scale than mechanics. I assume this developer mentality was forged from Sega's concurrent making of Sonic 2 and having confidence of the already established elements in Sonic 1. Either way, the amount of passion, care, and attention the developers took in making this game as flavorful, memorable, and distinct cannot be understated. A game can still provide an enjoyable experience even if the game design isn't the greatest. From the diverse locations in the set design to the music and characters, Sonic CD is a testament to how memorability can transcend a game's parts into a profound experience.
Sonic CD is a strange one for me. It was this elusive, sought-after, lost entry in the series, but when I finally got to play it, I honestly thought it was confused, underwhelming, and disappointing. There are lots of clashing design philosophies that just don't mesh well. The developers tried to appeal to both explorers and speedrunners with the options of either time traveling to destroy machines or collecting the time stones in special stages for the good ending. Those two conflicting approaches only get in each other's way, ultimately bringing the broader experience down with it. It's proof that when you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
Sonic CD isn't one of the classic Sonic games that I'm personally super familiar with, but what I can say for what I like of Sonic CD is that it does not deserve to be held in any low regard. This game is one of the most unique Sonic games you could ever play, and it still follows up greatly with the classics, as it did run on an actual Sega Genesis. Sonic CD is one of the better Sonic games, and I think everyone should play it just for the weirdness it is. It has time travel, a whole new story, and even an opening animation and ending credits animation, which I think is awesome. Sure, some things of Sonic CD aren't the greatest, but it can't be all perfect. This game is still great and should be held in high regard. 9 out of 10 would play again, but not enough Tails or Sonic 2, so... or Rouge, why wasn't Rouge in this one?
This was not easy for me to do. Sonic the Hedgehog CD is my favorite game of all time. The original came out on an add-on most people never even touched. It was ported to the PC in 1995, and then released on GameCube and in PAL in Japan on the PS2 via the Sonic Gems collection. The fact that a PS2 release did exist, but I couldn't have it, drove me insane when I found that out as a kid. Fuck you, Sega. Those who had played CD, which wasn't a lot, liked it. When the Whitehead release finally came out, I was ecstatic that more people could play my favorite game, and I thought my opinions were finally going to be justified. But the inverse happened. Over time, the general consensus became that the game was at best a game with a great aesthetic and score, but questionable and bad design, and at worst, Sonic went on a drug trip. And even among those who love Sonic CD, I'm still different as I prefer the US soundtrack. I'm a niche of a niche, and that makes you question yourself if you have good taste, or are just blind to a game because of nostalgia. And at that point, can you yourself say that you think critically? And then I realized something. My true first exposure to Sonic Advance, was once one of my favorite Sonic games. I love the score, I love the art style, but I can see its faults. I can see that it hasn't aged as well as the Genesis games. So, if I can think critically about my first Sonic game, and criticize it, that means I've grown up. I can look at a game beyond what it meant to me. Another fact I discovered about this game while working on this video is just the sheer replay value this game has over any of the other classic Sonic games. Think about how many different ways you can play this game. There's the standard way of collecting rocks and racing to the end, but you can also time travel, explore the zones, creating good features in every act. There are 2 different soundtracks you can pick from, and if that's not all enough, the time trial feature, something that didn't exist in any of the other classic Sonic games, at least in the way that we know a time trial mode today, as well Sonic 3 did have one, those were just the multiplayer levels. This was all on top of the classic Sonic gameplay, which we all know was built from the ground up to be replayable. Ever since I was a kid, if I were sad, I could pick this game up and lose myself in the alien Little Planet. I know so many little facts about this game. For example, the Metal Sonic generators were part of an idea that the animals would attack Sonic thinking he was the Metal Sonic, and besides like 3 of them, all of this game's badniks are designed after insects. Sonic the Hedgehog CD is not a perfect game. It is a game that means the world to me. My uncle had a copy of that big jewel case, and I would examine it over and over again and try to redraw that cover art. I amazed my friends with my ability at the game, and it drove me crazy that I didn't have access to the Gems collection. I have so many memories of this game, but I can see its flaws. But everyone has their game. The game that makes them happier than anything else. Sonic CD is my favorite game of all time because it makes me happy. Its art style is abstract and unique, even in its own franchise. Its time travel gimmick and new way to play is a bonus, and just like the other Sonic games, you can learn tricks to get through it faster just like the other Genesis games. The Sega CD version is buggy, but so are the Genesis games, and there are now better ways to play. Its soundtrack, both of them, are some of the best of Sonic music, and that pedigree is not to be understated. I can't wait for the Sonic Origins collection to give everyone a new way to play this game. The game will surely get more hate compared to Sonic 2 and 3, as well as Mania, and it's not going to be everyone's favorite, and that's okay. Sonic the Hedgehog CD is different, and so am I.